Welcome and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. I'm your own personal sales maven here to offer you tips and strategies and techniques to truly master your sales conversations. Now, today's episode is one of the Mastering Excellence series, and this comes from my background in NLP, where we learn that there is a structure to excellence. And when you can understand how somebody is achieving exceptional results in some area of their life or business using a structure, you can put that structure into your own area of life or business so that you can achieve exceptional results as well. And I am so excited about today's guest. Let me tell you a little bit about Sarah Walton. She is a 17-year business strategist and receiving expert who helps high achieving women recalibrate their relationship with money, power, and visibility. Are you already enticed? Yes. Okay. She's been featured on the Today Show, international stages. She's known for her precision coaching style, spotting the pattern beneath the problem and shifting it fast. Through private mentorship, the art of receiving, and the Abundance Academy, Sarah supports women scaling their income without shrinking, burning out, or self-abandoning. Her work is about one thing: helping powerful women stop negotiating with themselves. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Nikki, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here today.
I'm so excited to dig in to this topic with you. What we're going to talk about is one of Sarah's unconscious competence, the thing that is uniquely her. And she has the ability to really see a path to wealth in all areas. And so we're going to dig into that. But before we do, Sarah, tell everybody just a little bit outside the bio, a little bit about your business, how clients work with you, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I feel so lucky to be able to do this. And I just do like that we get to have conversations like this is amazing. And honestly, that is how I work with my clients. It's one conversation at a time, right? People are always like, "What are you going to do with me?" And I'm like, "Whatever you need." Like
Yes.
it's like I'm going to do you, and then you're going to go do your business and your wealth and your money. And it really does work that way. And I just feel so lucky, both whether it's a group, which is the art of receiving is a group course that's only 12 weeks where we really teach people that the miracle isn't that abundance appears. The miracle is that we stop pushing away what's trying to find its way to us. That's
Hmm.
actually the miracle.
Okay.
And then the Abundance Academy is exactly what it sounds like. It is an academy where we master abundance over the course of a year. And these are two group programs, which I really love because what women learn from each other, we are so good at sharing with each other. Like, you guys, you're not going to believe what I just saw. And we get to really see each other and all of that. And then I do take a handful of one on one clients, and that's where we really dig deep. These are really successful women who just know something is not. There's something they're still fighting against. There's something that doesn't feel good. There's something about life that is just it's got kind of like a dull ache to it and they can't figure it out. And so that tends to be a lot more of a personal, in depth kind of coaching container. And a lot of the times, what happens is we're working on something that happened in the first grade and they end up tripling their revenue. And it's so cool how that comes together and people can really
Hmm.
see the connection. Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, you're also a podcaster.
Mhm.
You have a podcast. You want to tell us a little bit about that too?
Do. I love it. You may know someone named Nikki who's appearing shortly, but it is called the Game On Girlfriend podcast
I love
because
the name of
it's
it.
on. Yeah, it's like this is not your practice life. The game is on, and it
Hmm.
actually I named it after I loved The West Wing in the '90s. I don't know if you ever watched
Yes.
it, right?
Yes.
And
I
there's
love The
this
West Wing.
scene like when President Bartlett's up for reelection and he's about to walk out on stage and his wife cuts his tie in half just to freak him out because he performs better when he's on the edge. Right. So everybody's rushing to get him a new tie. And oh my God. And he looks at her and she goes, "Game on, boyfriend." And I love it so much right as he walks out on stage. So I'm like, that's me. That's what I do. I get you excited. I get you out on the stage of life and we go have a great time.
What a beautiful way to name your podcast. What a great story. I love a story, and that's a good one. Thank you for sharing that. I'll be thinking about that. Cutting the tie, game on, boyfriend. I love that so much. Okay, so we're going to dig in to these questions and you just be you and answer whatever comes to mind, and then sometimes I'll stay pretty close to the questions and sometimes I weave off. It just kind of depends on how the conversation goes. But my first question is always, imagine that I was getting to stand in for you for a day. How lucky would I be that I get to essentially take on who you are and think like you, act like you, behave like you. The
Mm.
first question is, if I was standing in for you in this way, what would I have to do, think, be to really be able to see a path to wealth?
Mm. This is why I love NLP so much, Nikki. I love this. Okay. So I think this is going to be tough for me to describe again because it is
That's
so
okay.
natural, right?
Yeah,
As we
yeah.
discuss, right? It's so natural for me, but I think you would really start to notice what people don't say. And it starts to become really clear kind of where we're avoiding what's really important, right? We think that we know. We think it's, my mom told me money doesn't grow on trees. We think that's what's happening. But what's actually happening is we were taught to perform at a very young age in order to get approval. And we were also taught that our emotions are annoying. We're not supposed
Hmm.
to have desires or needs. They make other people uncomfortable. So we take that into our lives as we talk about wealth, we talk about money, we talk about wanting more. We kind of shrink back and hide from it. And right there is where you, being me, would say, tell me more about what just happened. Right. And there in there, it's like, well, who am I? Anytime we kind of start to get to that phrase, who am I to have $18 million in the bank?
Hmm.
Who am I to have more than one home? Who am I? Right. And then we start to see what's happening. Who are you not to have that? Right.
Yeah.
And what do you think of people who have those things? And so we start to look at what people aren't saying
Hmm.
together. That's what I would look at with someone. And that's really what you would start to take on. And I think another piece, that I think you would take on is not being codependent with a client. And that sounds so funny, but these conversations get so personal and they're up against things that are so big that most of us as women, especially if you're a coach of any kind, like you want to just jump in and help people, right? And it's really you would pull back and respect their process of understanding what's happening. And really, I think part of finding wealth for people is kind of holding them, not physically, but literally holding their emotion and their time without taking any of it on. So they can really be with it. They can really experience it and really step into their own power inside these moments that feel so scary and so big, and all consuming. And all of a sudden they see they can hold it. But that almost has nothing to do with you. If you were being me, it has nothing to
Hmm.
do with you. And that can get really tricky sometimes, right? Because it can feel almost like a parenting relationship or like this really intimate, beautiful relationship. And to remember inside of seeing wealth for someone else, it's almost that we're not there other than to hold the space, and really allowing them to see their brilliance come through.
So interesting. In NLP, there's a presupposition, and it goes. I haven't said this one in a while. Let me think how it goes. That people are not broken. They have all their resources and that they need within them. In NLP, you think about it's you approach it as the guide to help them access the resources, but you're not the fixer. You're not the solution. You're the guide to help them see. And I feel like that's, I don't mean to paraphrase you, but that feels like kind of this idea of
Absolutely.
holding this space and not inserting yourself or becoming attached
Mhm.
feels
Yeah.
really powerful. Okay.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to put it. I love that. Thank you.
Okay. So when you think about this idea of seeing a path for wealth for a client or for yourself even or any instance, what are your goals?
Mm. My bottom line goal is honestly is more money in the hands of more women. I think that will actually I sound like a contestant for Miss America, but I'm like, that would actually cause world peace. I just don't think women would drop bombs on each other's children. I think we would drop medicine and food, and water. And I
I
do
totally
think that
agree.
when women have money, we do excellent things with them. And statistic after statistic after statistic proves that out. So
Yep.
that is honestly my end goal, is to have women see this is this beautiful, it's called currency for a reason. It flows, and we are so good at flowing. We are so good at overflow. We're so good at moving things where they need to be. literally. And we ask any mom, right? How many times all day you're just putting stuff where it's supposed to be. Money is one of those things that we have this exquisite skill to put money where it needs to be in order for the world to function well. And that really is my end goal.
I should have maybe asked you this question, but this is what comes to mind now is how do you define wealth? Like what does
Ah,
wealth mean
great
to you?
question. A state of wholeness.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's relationship, love, health. Uh, Financial is part of it, but it's not everything. Um, and I think ease, just absolute ease, just being able to be so whole and full and to walk through life with your head held high and your shoulders down and just this beauty. That's wealth.
I love that. This idea of a state of wellness and ease is so powerful. I have a training where I teach around sales obviously, but it's helping people understand like what words mean to somebody, but also what images mean. And I have this like these three images that I show, and I ask the participants to write down what this image is because we're just kind of getting to the heart of it. And one of the images that I often show is a stack of money, like it's a
Mhm.
like a wad of cash. Now, it's so interesting what people name that. And so I really appreciate you sharing what wealth means to you because it's not the same for every single person. When I show that, people have all different kinds of answers. The one that was the most shocking to me in the 13 years I've been teaching this class is uh people will say like cash or moolah, or they'll actually like name an amount. They'll be like, it's $1,000, or it's like whatever they come up with. And one woman one time in a course, she said debt. And I was like, holy smokes. And so I just wonder, that's why I specifically wanted you to clarify what wealth means to you, because I was so taken aback. And of course, you make safe space for everybody in the room to share like what something means, and everybody was kind of like, "What?" But even me as the instructor going like, "Wait, this is such an interesting perception of what that means." So I love that. I love your version of what wealth is. So thank you for that.
Oh,
Okay,
that
so
was
you talked
powerful.
about goals, like your
Yeah.
goal, like the ultimate goal, more money in the hands of women. Love that. And that it's about currency and this idea of flow.
Mhm.
So how do you know you're achieving your goals? What is evidence for you that goal is happening?
That's a great question. So in order to answer that, I'll pull back a tiny bit on my own belief system,
Okay.
which is that we are one, right? We are souls with bodies. We're not the other way around. Right? So we're this beautiful consciousness. I think that's why I use the term wealth consciousness, and consciousness just meaning a focus of awareness in life. And I think we're all very connected in that. And so I know that this is working when any single woman specifically hits a new level of wealth. And by wealth, I mean health, status, money, peace, ease, freedom, right? All these things. Because when one of us does that, we all get to experience it, right? And what we learn is that when one person raises their level of consciousness, other people are able to do it as well because we are so connected. And
Mm-hmm.
you know that feeling like when someone walks in a room and you're like, "Oh, yikes, that person's scary," or "Oh my God, who is that? I want to go talk to her." Right? Like we have this innate ability to be like sensing each other's energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're gaining traction on this goal when I see more and more women doing amazing things with their money, but also with their love, their spirits, their passions, their excitement. They're getting healthier, right? They're getting stronger. They're losing this need to be praised for the invisible unpaid work we all do, right? For the unpaid emotional labor women carry. When we
Mm-hmm.
start going, "Oh, actually, here, you can have that." You know what I mean? They're like, "You can do this, right? You're capable of doing the laundry. You're capable of cleaning up this mess," like whatever that is.
Yes.
The more I see that, the more I know we're on track.
Yeah. That's some powerful evidence. Okay. What do you actually do to reach the goal?
Ah, constantly, to be totally straight with you, constantly working on my internal space. So if we are all connected, and we are all open, and there's a fluency and a currency between us, I really consider it my job to be constantly expanding my ability to receive my own internal state of wealth. Because as I show up for clients, as I show up on my own podcast, as I show up for my children, as I show up in the world, if that internal space is clean within me, then I know I'm going to show up in that space, and that's contagious. And so for me, in the doing, like you asked your first question, in being and doing and like running through a day with me, it's that cleaning that internal space. And that means meditating, that means journaling, and that means really being aware of anywhere I'm stopping the miracle, right? Of not allowing what wants to come to me, whether it's people, love, money, energy, all those things. Anywhere I'm blocking that, I work very diligently to make sure I walk into any space bringing that wealth consciousness with me.
Thank you so much for giving those very specific examples of what you do to clean the space, because that was so beautiful of like the meditating, the journaling, and the awareness of anything that's stopping you. Is there something that triggers for you that allows you to know, like, oh, I got a block there, or oh, something is, put up the little stop sign here. Is there anything that helps you become aware of it so then you can clean it?
Yeah, I will know immediately if I'm off course. There's this little spot right where our ribs separate, right? And I found out later that was called a shame center by a lot of psychologists. I did not know that, but there's
Oh,
this little spot right where my ribs separate. If there's a dunk there, like it's like this drop, I can feel that. I know, okay, all right, where'd I just go off base? In a more general sense, it's my mood. If I'm in a bad mood, there is some thought running around in my head that's telling me either I'm not really good at this, you're stupid, you should have handled that better, those sorts of things.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and it is tough. I mean, listen, as a coach or as someone who's got a podcast, like people project a lot of stuff onto us, right?
Yeah.
They expect that we're perfect about this or that. And you're like, wow, really? You think that? That's very nice, but no,
But
right? Or
not
whatever.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of that non-codependent piece, right? Like
Yeah.
we have to sort of just show up knowing this internal space is clear, and not take on what other people put on us, right? Because then that space gets muddied. And so I know I've started to do that if I'm even in a bad mood. It's like, ooh, maybe go meditate for a second. I also have these beautiful, I don't know if everybody's watching on video. I love these so much. I think they may have stopped making them, but you can get them on Amazon. They're called Now speakers, Now. And there are these two little round speakers, and you can put them next to yourself. They go off for 3 minutes and they calibrate to each other, and they set your brainwaves as if you'd meditated for 20 minutes. It's so great. So
What?
sometimes if I'm feeling off, I'm like, where are my now speakers? Give me them. Right. And I'll just kind of recalibrate for a second and be like, what is happening, until I can find myself in the amount of energy and mood that I'm used to being in.
I love that. Okay. Thank you for sharing about now I've got to go look for some now speakers. That is
They're so great.
fantastic. Okay. Um, my next question is, how do you know it's time to pay attention to this idea of really looking for that path or seeing that path to wealth?
When you feel off. I think, and
Okay.
I know that's a very generic thing to say, but it's almost like, have you ever been in New York City in the summertime,
Uh-huh.
Nikki? Right. Okay.
Yes.
So there's no central air in most apartments in New York City, right? Because they were all built so long ago. So there's like this hum of air conditioners on 24/7 in the summertime. And so if you're in someone's apartment or something, and then they finally turn off the air conditioning and it goes quiet, you're like, oh my God, that was so loud, right? Like all of a sudden it's just quiet. You're like, whoo, that's better. If you recognize there's something in your, maybe it's when you're leaving your office, you're like, oh, that's better. You're not with your spouse and you go, oh, that's better. These are signs that something is way off,
Mm,
right? Because there's a hum of something in the back of your mind going off all the time, and you get a respite from it and you realize it's quite loud. So
yes.
it really is that something's off. And like my favorite clients to work with are the ones who have really made it financially, like they're really doing well. And something they're just like, oh, there's this constant grr underneath, or
Hmm.
sorrow even, of like, no, this cannot be it. that's when we know that one of the paths to wealth isn't visible to them at the moment, because wealth is such an internal position. It's such an internal experience of being alive that when we're not experiencing that joy, when we're not in that, like, oh my God, do you want an orange short? Do you want, like, when we're not in that natural state of being, there's some pathway that has been hidden from view.
Mm. So many great examples that you're giving. I feel like you're painting such a vivid picture. I say that, but yet you're giving these examples of auditory, which I just absolutely love. These auditory examples, as somebody who's really sensitive to noise, like I can so relate to this idea of like, you're hearing the, like even where I am now with our air conditioner, and then when it shuts off, it's like, oh, oh, like, wow. As much as I love air conditioning, I'm not complaining about it. I'm so grateful for it because after being in Seattle for 27 years and no air conditioning in homes either, it was like, dang. So now to have air conditioning, I feel very blessed, but there is that hum that you're talking about. And so to be able to recognize that in ourselves, allowing us to go, oh, okay, I'm not in this flow. I'm not in that maybe I don't mean to put words in your mouth, so please correct me,
Mm-hmm.
like that currency flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly right.
so
Yeah.
there's, like you said, there's a path that is being hidden. And one of the things you did mention, but I think you mentioned this before we started the podcast, but I want to check in with you about it is like one of the things that you had talked about is that you have some night vision goggles. Is that right?
That's what I call them.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Will you share a little
Yeah.
bit about that and how that
Absolutely.
plays into to this?
Yeah. So people tend to come to me when, right? I
Mhm.
kind of envision them standing in the dark and they're in this beautiful field with all these pathways towards wealth, but they're literally standing in the dark and they're very confused. They're like, there's nothing here. You don't understand, Sarah. No, no, I've made the money, or I can't make money, or I don't know, my relationship's not working, or I'll always be unhealthy, whatever it is, right? That
Mhm.
thing is just, they're standing in this dark field and it really does look dark. They're like, what? And what I consider these conversations is putting on night vision goggles. So then they put on night vision goggles and suddenly all the paths that were already there, they were there. I don't invent them, right? They were all there.
Yeah.
Suddenly they can see them and they're like, oh my God, there's that. Oh my God, there's this. And all of a sudden they're in action and it's beautiful. It's fun because they see exactly where they're going because now it's clear. And so even though to someone else it might appear dark, which is another thing people have to kind of navigate as we're dealing with wealth consciousness, is they're like all the other people in your life who are like, don't go over there, it's dark. And they're like, no, it's right here. And they're like, nope, it's dark. And you're like, great. We need to get Sarah in here. Get on your night vision goggles and you can see where we're going. Right. It's just kind of this
Yeah.
fun game that you start to play with the people in your life who are like, that's dangerous, that's dangerous, that's dangerous. And they don't have their night vision goggles yet.
Mhm.
So it's this important thing to understand once you put your night vision goggles on, that your path gets really crystal clear. And then it almost like your faith gets tested a little bit. But it's so fun once they're on, you can't unsee it.
I wonder if I'm just asking, but I wonder if sometimes like the people around you that are like, that's not safe, be careful. It's because they were never intended to see the path anyway, even, right? Like that's not their path. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I was just doing something recently where it was like stay in your lane and like there was a lane laid out for you and and the idea is to run your own race and all that stuff. And so I wonder and I deal with this too with my clients a lot where there's this like people in their life that are like I don't really understand this entrepreneurial thing and why are you doing this business
Mm.
and just not like having that support, and
Mhm.
it's like, and it's kind of like, it's not really their fault because they can't see it anyway. Like it's not their race to run. It's not their path to walk. So I can see where they wouldn't see it, but also it's learning like who should be like who should have access to those night goggles with you that
That's
Sarah, right? Like Sarah is going to help
yes.
you reveal those paths and help you
Yeah.
put on your own night vision goggles so that you can see your path to wealth. But expecting just any person, no matter how important they are in your life, doesn't necessarily make them the qualified person to help you find that path.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I really appreciate what you said. And I think it's not only are we all in our own lanes, I think sometimes people see their path and it scares them, so they don't follow. And then when you follow yours, it triggers them as well. So it's just
Yes.
something to know. And like, again, and I agree with you, not their fault. These are not bad people. They're not even like, you know, uh, cut them out of your life. Like sometimes, yes, if they're
Yes.
abusive, but
Yeah.
most of the time, yeah. Most of the time, it's like, oh, I got it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for loving me. And then you just keep going.
Yeah.
Um, it's and I see when people have like flashes of their pathway. I love this analogy. Someone said this the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. It's like you're riding on a horseback, right, in the dark, stormy night, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then there's like a bolt of lightning ahead of you, and for a split second, you see the path. You see it, and you can't unsee it. You're like, I saw it. It was there. I was there, right? And you go the next 10 feet, and then there's another flash, and you go and you go. And it really can feel that way. And so you can get why so many people, it's not their jam. They're like,
Mhm.
nope, I need to see 500,000 days into the future. And like, I cannot be living my life that way. And that's okay. And I think there is a moment, my personal belief system, take it or leave it, is that there is that moment for every single person. And what happens the second you put the night vision goggles on is you either step into courage or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Right. But every time following your path, even once it's crystal clear to you, is courage. It's always courage.
Yeah.
And that's how that confidence competence loop in psychology works, is that you take one step and you feel more confident. So then you're competent. And then you're like, oh, I am competent. I can do this. So you learn one more thing and then you're more confident and then you feel more competent. And it just, that first step of courage down a path you've never been before is usually the hardest, and it's what comes right afterwards. And so a lot of people shirk from it. It's intimidating. It's like, ooh, yeah, but
Yeah.
what if the next flash doesn't come? Right? There's
Right.
this constant fear. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can see this idea of like the with the lightning strike and it's like, oh, something got lit up, but it was for a short period of time and you got to keep going even though it's no longer lit up. Like to me that really speaks to I love that you use the word courage and I saw that on your website too, is courage. But it also to me speaks to perseverance and that there like perseverance really is built on courage and faith, right? Like there's that's kind of it,
Yep.
because you don't know the outcome. You can't see the path all the time. So that's, yeah, I love that you speak to courage. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. So one of my last questions before we kind of start to wrap up here is how do you know when to stop
Mm.
this idea of like really looking for that path to wealth?
You just, I hate this answer. I'm so sorry, but you just know. And I think the more that we take courageous steps, so that is also part of the confidence competence loop, is learning to trust those instincts. Right. And one of the first challenges I always give people when they're working with me is I was like, do every single thing that pops up in your instinct, do it. Every single thing. So they're like, what? I'm like, yep, call Bob from accounting from 3 jobs ago. Great, go do it. Like they're like, what? I'm like, yes. So we start to play in this realm of intuition and listening. And the stronger that muscle gets, right? And look, we don't walk into the gym and start lifting 50 pounds weights. We walk in and we're lifting 2 pounds, right? So call freaking Bob from accounting. It's great. Like just start with the little stuff, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
that turns into, oh, I've actually always wanted to create this thing. Oh, interesting. Really? Why haven't you? Well, I really want to. I know, why haven't you? Right. And we
Yeah.
step into that, what's happening. And what happens there is once we start to pull apart instinct versus fear, you can start to understand, you get really good at telling the difference. So when the instinct says, that's enough now, you go, oh, okay. Versus, I have to stop her. This is good. Oh my God. That's fear. That is not instinct. And so, really learning to build the muscles around these two entities almost, right? These two forces of energy that can enter our lives at any time is key. And it's just sort of filtering through our own knowing, our own intuition to know. And I've never seen anybody honestly go quote unquote too far, right? Because even if you do, you learn something.
Yeah.
You know what and then you didn't go too far. That was exactly perfect for you to go. It's like you can't screw this up. To say to people, they're like, but what about this? I'm like, dude, you cannot mess this up, right? We are so supported and so nurtured, and we know this to be true. We just look at nature, right? Like an orange tree doesn't freak out that it's not going to be able to grow an orange, right? Like that's like not a thing. Of course it's going to grow an orange. That's what it's here to do.
Mm-hmm.
So of course you're going to walk your path. That's what you're here to do. You can't screw that up. Right. And once people sort of get, then it starts to be in this realm of play and this realm of flow and joy, like we've been talking about. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I did go too far on that one. I went, it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. What'd you learn? This is, oh my God, great. And then they just apply that and keep going. And so I think it's a great question to ask, but I think it's near impossible. I can't even come up with a scenario where someone would go quote unquote too far.
I love it.
You know.
I love it.
And by the way,
Yeah.
someone who was just like, okay, I'm going to go mortgage my house, but you know that that's fear,
Right.
right? Because if you're actually in instinct and faith, it's going to show up for you as you continue to look for it. You don't have to sell your house or a kidney or whatever you're thinking of. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
that comes from scarcity. That comes from, I have to control this versus I'm always supported. Let me take a second and journal on this. Let me breathe about this. Let me look at space and open myself up and remember that the brain, the mindset that creates the problem is incapable of, cannot, impossible, cannot find the solution.
Hmm.
And so usually when we're in this, like, I'm going to go gamble, I'm going to like what those, you know, when people are like, I have to do everything to make this work. It's like, no, that's force.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of power, actually. That is mankind, humankind pulling, trying to pull down this energy and force it. You can't do that. You're just going to get really tired, right? That is the opposite. When you're actually on the path, it can feel exciting and you might feel nervous and it might take courage, but there's a lift to it. There's no shame in it. And there's not that depth of fear, right? There's courage, but not that depth of fear. And you know, that's another way you know you're off track is if you're starting to panic and trying to figure it out yourself. I
Hmm.
gotta move it, I gotta sell that, I gotta do this, way off track.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. I mean, you gave me so much to think about. My brain is spinning right now. I have so many like comments, but for the sake of the podcast episode, I want to just ask before I go into the little something extra questions, is there anything we haven't chatted about on this idea of seeing a path to wealth that you want to make sure it gets into this conversation?
I think I just want to make sure everybody knows they have a path. There's no single person on this planet who doesn't have a path to wealth. There's not one. It's not a
I'm so
thing.
glad you said that. Yeah, it's not a thing.
It's
Yeah.
not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as we wrap up, I always like to ask a little like let people get to know you personally a little bit more. So my first question is, what is something that brings you joy or pleasure right now?
Hydrangeas.
Oh, I love
I
hydrangeas.
love hydrangeas. Aren't they the best? I know. I finally
Oh,
planted some in my garden this year. I'm dying. I go out every day and talk to them. I love them so much.
what color?
Oh, the beautiful pink. I don't know if you can see the pink behind me.
Oh,
Yeah, this
yes.
beautiful, like dusty rose pink.
Yes.
I love them. My
Oh,
favorite.
I love hydrangeas too. Oh, I love that that was your answer. What's something exciting going on in your business right now?
So many things. But we just reworked the SEO on my website, which sounds so boring, right? Like, how unsexy is SEO? Can we talk about that for a second? Right? Like, so not sexy. But no, we just reworked it with a woman I've been working with. Gosh, she's a genius. For 15 years, she's been running my website, and we really revamped it to talk more about wealth consciousness. And we had a meeting just a couple days ago while I was on vacation, and I just sat there in the sunshine and I was like, this is so good because we're really touching upon all the things we're talking about. And I know
Yeah.
there's so many women right now who are like, really? Is this it? Like, what is happening? And I just cannot wait to just make it easy for them to find us even more. It just makes me
Yeah.
so excited. So
Yeah.
excited.
Love it. Love it. Okay. How can people listening right now connect with you? What's the best way?
Oh, there's a few.
Hmm.
But you can always DM me on Instagram. It's the Sarah Walton. My team has access to that. I always remind people of that so that it's not like don't tell your most personal thing unless you don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
DM. And then we also have a contact form on my website, sarahwalton.com. And a lot of people, I love when people reach out through there, and that does only go to me. Um, and I think what can happen there is really cool because people will really open up and start talking to me about what's going on. And I really, really appreciate that.
Fantastic. Sarah, you were a pure joy. Thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate, I feel like I learned a lot from you and you gave me a lot to think about. And I hope for the listener, they did as well. And I always want to say to the listener, please reach out to Sarah or reach out to me and share what was your biggest takeaway from today? What was something that Sarah shared that sparked maybe your own thought process or some awareness around your own path or something that might be blocking you right now. So I'm sure, I hope, Sarah, you'd like to hear that, but I definitely want to hear it from you as well. Like, what was the thing? But anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, Sarah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. This has just been such a joy. I've loved this conversation so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And for you, the listener, as always, I'm just so grateful you're here. Thank you. And I am wishing you continued success in every little thing that you do. Have a great rest of your day.